You don't know how vast the world is until you've been to China's Great Northwest. And you don't know the true meaning of China's cultural fusion until you've visited the Hexi Corridor. Here, the natural forces of aridity and moisture, the human spirit spanning across ethnic groups and ages, and our ancestors' eternal quest for peace have all come together to create this 1,000-kilometer corridor of snow-capped mountains, a 1,000-kilometer corridor of signal towers, a 1,000-kilometer corridor of oases, and a 1,000-kilometer corridor of art. First, let's begin with the birth of the Hexi Corridor. Beginning 65 million years ago, the collision of the Indian and Eurasian plates formed the three great terraces of China's topography and also caused widespread drought in the country's northwestern interior. And the Hexi Corridor is located right in the middle of it. Its destiny was controlled by drought, its very existence swept up by wind and sand. To its west, the sands of the Kumtag Desert continuously push eastward, carving out Yadan landforms resembling demonic castles and forming the Singing Sand Mountains. To its north, the Tanger and Bading-Jaran deserts advance on to fronts, relentlessly encroaching southward. In this arid environment, even the Baishan, or North Mountains, rising to 3,000 meters, have been severely eroded, leaving behind a landscape of scattered gravel and sparse vegetation. The stunningly colorful Dangsha landforms, or rainbow hills, are all the more striking due to the lack of vegetation in this desolate expanse. By all rights, this land should be devoid of life. But fortunately, a power emerged that could stand against the desert and the Gobi. The Kilian Mountains, stretching for 800 kilometers, stand guard to the south at altitudes of over 4,000 meters, with its highest point, Tuanji Peak, soaring to more than 5,800 meters. The massive mountain range intercepts water vapor, causing it to fall as snow at high altitudes. Year after year, the snow accumulates and compacts, eventually forming 2,683 glaciers, with a total area of about 1,600 square kilometers. Their ice reserves hold more water than Qinghai Lake, China's largest lake. This glacial meltwater, combined with atmospheric precipitation, flows together to form rivers. The Xiang River, the Xiu River, and the Hehe River, China's second-largest inland river, make up the three major water systems. These rivers plunge headfirst into the desert and Gobi, carving out numerous waterways, and form spectacular alluvial fans at the foot of the mountains, making a miracle happen. In the Kilian Mountains, there are dense forests and lush green grasslands. And below, in the river valleys and wetlands, the water is clear and the vegetation is rich. This place is no longer dominated by the desert and the Gobi. Instead, it has become an oasis where life can thrive, a channel where all life flourishes, a passage for humanity to traverse. The Hexi Corridor officially took shape. But this corridor, born from an arid landscape, is far from ordinary. It is a link to a much vaster world of mountains and rivers, a crucial factor in the peace and security of the nation. It's commonly known that the Hexi Corridor connects the Central Plains with the Western regions. Silk, tea, porcelain, seeds, and jewels all travel back and forth along this corridor. As a vital artery connecting the East and the West, it gave rise to the legendary Silk Road. But from a broader perspective, the Hexi Corridor does more than just connect East and West. It sits at a crossroads leading to the Central Plains in the east, the Mongolian Plateau in the north, the Western regions to the west, and the Qinghai Tibetan Plateau to the south. Four major regions that have profoundly shaped China's history are remarkably all connected through the Hexi Corridor, and people have utilized this connection to ensure the nation's security. During the Han Dynasty, General Huo Qubing decisively defeated the Xiongnu here, largely neutralizing their threat to the Central Plains. In the Sui Dynasty, Emperor Yang toured the Hexi Corridor and held a grand international exposition to showcase the empire's might. On the eve of the Yuan Dynasty's founding, Mongol and Tibetan leaders met here for talks. Following this, Tibet was formally brought under the jurisdiction of the central government. In the late Qing dynasty, Xiao Zongtang traveled through the Hexi corridor to reclaim Xinjiang, safeguarding China's territorial integrity. As a result, countless border fortresses and passes sprang up from the earth. Some stood amidst vast deserts, others gazed upon majestic snow-capped mountains, some clung to the highest peaks, and others were stationed by the riverbanks. They guarded the corridor, they guarded their homeland, and they guarded the peace, forming one of China's most concentrated regions of beacon-lit border fortresses. It is the endless wind blowing for 10,000 miles past the Jade Gate Pass. It is the Yellow River rising far among white clouds, a lonely fortress, walled by a myriad mountains. It is wild clouds stretching for thousands of miles, no city walls in sight. Rain and snow fall endlessly, merging with the Great Desert. However, with so many powers and interests at play, the Hexi corridor was often fraught with conflict, its beacon fires constantly lit. The tragic stories of numerous peoples frequently played out here. For such a turbulent land, was there any chance for the Hexi corridor to change its own destiny? The answer lay in the oasis of the Hexi corridor. The Xiang River system nourished the Wuwei Oasis, while the Hehe River system nourished the oasis of Jianshan-Juquan, and the Shu River system gave life to the Dunhuang Oasis. These oases, one by one, brought new life to the volatile corridor. Beginning in the Han Dynasty, migrants began to settle and cultivate the land here, developing a thriving oasis agriculture. To this day, with just 19% of Gansu's arable land, this region produces 32% of the province's grain and supplies 43% of its commercial oil, 97% of its sugar beets, as well as 98% of its cotton. And the incredible productivity of these oases also laid the foundation for even greater creative achievements. The bronze galloping horse, popularly known as the horse treading on a flying swallow, showcases the superb craftsmanship of the Hexi corridor during the Han Dynasty, at the same time as a crucial hub connecting all four directions. From the west, the civilizations of the Qinghai Tibet Plateau, the Mongolian Plateau, and the Central Plains all converge here. People connect civilization with civilization and bring civilizations together, blossoming into a flower of diverse and integrated civilization in the midst of the surrounding desert. This fusion turned the Hexi corridor into a corridor of faith. Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism intertwined and coexisted here. And the grottos, spanning nearly every historical period, stretch across the entire Hexi corridor. Tiantishan Grottos, Tongzisi Grottos, the Matisi Grottos Complex, Jingyao Osi Grottos, Wenshushan Grottos, Changma Grottos, Yunlin Grottos, Wugamiao Grottos, and so on. This fusion also made the Hexi corridor a corridor of art, especially from the former Qin to the Yuan dynasty. The many regimes and ethnic groups active in the Hexi corridor collaborated in their creations here. This is how the Dunhuang Mogao Grottos were formed. Today, the world's most sacred site of Buddhist art, with the largest scale of existing caves and the most abundant content built over the longest continuous period of excavation. It is home to over 45,000 square meters of murals and more than 2,000 painted sculptures. Its content is all-encompassing, from the lives of common people to the style of the nobility, to the fantastical dreams of gods and Buddha's the ideal world that countless people have longed for. All of it is depicted here. It represents the shared aspiration of every era and every ethnic group for a peaceful homeland and a beautiful life. And even more, this fusion made the Hexi corridor a corridor of vibrant, everyday life. The Han, Tibetan, Uyghur, Mongol, Kazakh, and other peoples all live, work, and create their cultures here in their own unique ways. When we gaze upon its form once more, we see majestic mountains and rivers. We see the fusion of civilizations. We see a peaceful nation and home. And we should also see behind it all the countless pioneers who, in the face of adversity, torment, setbacks, suffering, and solitude, relentlessly pursued their homeland, their faith, and their art. Those bygone eras. Those long, endless nights. Those creators who refused to be mediocre. Who brought together influences from all corners of the world. It is they who allowed the charm of the Hexi Corridor to transcend time. This is the Hexi Corridor, Chinese greatest corridor.